Hey there, are you eating healthy and working out and still seeing this belly fat hang around? What's going on here? The truth is, after age 40, it's not just about our calories, it's about these hormones. And if no one has explained this to you yet, you're not alone. Welcome. If we've not met yet, my name is Nicole Dalton. I have been a physician assistant for almost 25 years now, turned menopause weight loss coach. I specifically help women 35 and over lose weight for the last time to create the healthiest version of themselves for the second half of life. Before we dive in, if you are ready to get a personalized plan for your weight loss that works with your hormones and not against them, book a free call with me using the link in the show notes. I'll help you break through that frustration so you can finally see results. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please hit like, subscribe, share with anyone you know that could find this helpful. So why does belly fat matter? Okay, let's talk about the science behind belly fat real quick before we really dig in. So belly fat is one of the most dangerous signs on our body, especially after menopause, because this can truly increase our risk of heart attack, stroke, cancer, diabetes. So we know that this visceral fat is much more dangerous than the fat we have on our thighs or the fat we have on our arms, okay? So this visceral fat is not only uncomfortable and it's embarrassing, but it really is setting you up for a host of other health problems down the road. So let's talk about it. So why are we developing more belly fat in our 40s, right? What is happening here? So in perimenopause, as our estrogen and progesterone they're declining. So what happens when the estrogen drops, our bodies start to store more fat in our belly rather than our thighs and our backside. Okay, so that estrogen dip is leading us to store our weight in our bellies. Also, as our estrogen is declining, guess what is rising? Our insulin and our cortisol, okay? So our cortisol level rises, and that stress actually leads to belly fat storage, especially if you're overdoing cardio. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So cortisol, if you've not heard of this hormone yet, I'd be surprised because I feel like it's a very popular word on the streets these days, but cortisol is the stress hormone. And when you're not sleeping or you're stressed at work or stressed at home, your cortisol level rises. But we also know that intense cardio also can be stressful on your body, and too much intense cardio really will send those cortisol levels up. So normally cortisol is okay. Cortisol is there. Like, think back to the cave women days when we're running from wild animals. Okay, so we do want that cortisol level to be there when we need it during stressful situations, because it forces us into action to save our lives or save our family. However, the problem we're seeing with our current population now is that everybody's just under this chronic stress, whether it's chronic life stress, not sleeping well, chronic stress because we are over exercising and doing too much. So that cortisol does play a big factor in our belly fat. And then the last hormone that increases our belly fat is insulin. So as our estrogen declines, it actually causes our insulin to go up. And many of us women during perimenopause and menopause are insulin resistant because of that. And that also causes us to store this extra belly fat. So even if you're eating healthy, your insulin levels naturally will climb a little bit during this phase in life. So I want to just share a quick example. One of my clients, she was limiting her calories to 1,200 calories a day and running 5 days a week, but she was still gaining weight and still gaining belly fat. So once we really dug in to her nutrition and her foods, once we adjusted her plan, her belly fat finally started shrinking. And now she is comfortable getting into a bathing suit. Have you ever noticed that how in your 30s, the weight seemed to come off easier and now it just sticks? That's your hormones at play, the estrogen, cortisol, and insulin. So the common mistakes that I see women make over and over again that actually make belly fat worse. The first one is extreme dieting. This actually slows your metabolism and it increases cortisol, right? So what is going to happen? We're going to store our belly fat even more. So it's actually a myth that our metabolism slows with aging. That is not true. Our metabolism alone just does not slow just because we're getting older, but it slows because we're losing our muscle mass. And so if you're extremely dieting and not eating enough foods or going on these extreme fad diets, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, then we're losing muscle mass too. And because of that, that is what is slowing our metabolism and making it harder to lose, especially that belly fat. Another mistake that I see women make often is just too much cardio, okay? So I'm in that mode now. I am training for a half Ironman, which if you have not heard of an Ironman, it's a triathlon. And I am training to swim 1.2 miles, bike 56 miles, and then run a half marathon at the end. Yes, I know I'm crazy. However, this is what gets me excited, this endurance running and swimming and biking. However, I notice my body has changed now compared to 5 to 10 years ago. Okay, so in my training plan, I need to incorporate, and I have been incorporating more weightlifting sessions because that body composition is changing in my late 40s. So too much cardio, I see women really falling into that trap because that actually leads to more muscle mass loss. So it actually leads to muscle loss and more belly fat. So look at your exercise routine for the week. You want to make sure that you're not doing all cardio sessions, okay? Another mistake I see women make is not picking up weights, okay? What happens when we're not lifting weights, we have less muscle, and that less muscle leads to slower metabolism. So that's another huge mistake I see women making is not lifting weights. And the last mistake that I commonly see is skipping sleep, or they're not managing their stress very well, okay? I get it. I've been there. Stress, life stressors, but poor sleep will actually lead to more cravings and more belly fat because of the cortisol levels. So you must dial in on your sleep. And I know you've heard this a million times, but it is super important because that will really ramp up your cravings and make it harder to eat healthy and stay on track. So one of my clients was actually eating 1,200 calories a day, running 5 days a week, and she was gaining weight, especially around her belly, and she was increasing her waist circumference. And once we worked together really to create a new plan of her eating and increasing her calories and adjusting her macros, she was able to not only lose weight, but then lose the belly fat. So that's a huge piece too, is looking at the nutrition piece and dialing in the right amount of calories and macros there too. So what actually works? So I'm going to give you the 5 things that actually work to drop this belly fat so you can feel more comfortable in shorts and in your bathing suit this summer and set yourself up for a lifetime of health in the second half of your life. So the first thing that actually works is prioritizing your protein. I know you've heard this before, but what does that mean? Okay, so you actually want to look at each meal and make sure you're getting 25 to 30 grams of protein in per meal, because this helps to stabilize your sugar, your glucose, okay? What happens when we're eating a high carb meal is that our glucose is spiking up even more. And that glucose spike leads to inflammation. Inflammation also leads to weight gain or just not losing. So we want to maintain our glucose spikes. Even if you're not a diabetic, we all naturally have glucose spikes through the day. So we want to maintain our glucose spikes by eating enough protein at each meal. So get enough protein in, lift weights. You've got to pick up weights. The heavier the better, as long as you're using proper form and not injuring yourself. But muscle burns fat and it balances our hormones. So you gotta lift weights, lift heavy, and lift 2 to 3 days a week. The third thing is manage your stress and sleep. I cannot overemphasize this enough. This is probably the most important, crucial fact on top of diet and exercise, right? Is managing your response to stress. We all have stress in our life, but how are you managing it? Okay, you got to look at how you're doing that and making sure you're sleeping at least 7 hours a night, because this all lowers our energy. This all lowers our cortisol, and then we get fewer cravings. The fourth thing is to cycle your carbs. What do I mean by this? Is you actually want to time your carbs around your workouts instead of cutting them out completely. You want to time them around your workouts. So you should ideally be eating carbs prior to a workout and after your workout, because our body is relying on carbs as energy. And by carbs, I mean the healthy carbs, the sweet potatoes, the quinoa, the brown rice, the oats, and tons of vegetables, okay? Just be very careful with your carb selection to make sure you're eating healthy carbs before and after your exercise. And then the last thing that actually works to help get rid of belly fat is you gotta ditch that darn sugar. I know, you don't like when I tell you this. However, even healthy snacks like granola, they can spike our insulin and spike our glucose. So you really want to be careful. Really, the recommendations is to get 25 grams of added sugar or less. And on the nutrition labels a few years ago, this was new on the nutrition labels to look for added sugars. So ideally, you're eating whole foods grown from the ground. However, if you are going to snack on something that's in a package and processed, check the label, make sure there's less than 25 added grams of sugar in your whole day, okay? And that's how to avoid getting this belly fat to go in the wrong direction, okay? So if you're working on losing belly fat, it's not about eating less, but it's about eating smarter for those hormones. So I would love to hear from you. Have you noticed your body changing after 40 years old? Drop a comment below and let me know your biggest struggle. And if you're tired of guessing what a real plan looks like that works for your hormones, let's chat. Click on the scheduling link in the show notes to book your free call. I'll help you get unstuck so you can start seeing weight loss results. And then after you book your call, make sure you click the link to watch my free menopause weight loss masterclass. It's super popular and full of great information. And if you found this helpful, please don't forget to hit subscribe and like and share with other women that you know. Have a wonderful day.